magnificent Angela Bender and Gregory Bender.
So crazy.
What?
So crazy that that's real, that you introduced us and we have microphones and all of that.
I know. It's a real thing now.
I know, it's a real thing. Remember when we were in our living room?
Yeah. I do remember.
I do remember. It was like yesterday. It was yesterday. No. Hey. Good evening and welcome. For those of you who have not met us, I'm Angela. Greg is somewhere. He's getting, oh, you're getting water. You're a genius. Are you getting me one too? No. No? Would you? My Mr. Acts of Service husband, who's awesome. And some of you might have noticed, we have a new whiteboard. The janky one is gone. Lindsay was describing our whiteboard as janky. And so when Lindsay says, get a new whiteboard, my husband says, absolutely. When I say, get a new whiteboard, he says, no way. So, what?
I was not.
I know.
I was not up for getting it even when Lindsay said it.
So totally the janky word. So Greg and I kind of do this as a fun partnership together. You'll find really quickly I talk a lot. Greg talks a little. But we do this together because we really believe that this is our partnership together. Greg's kind of a feeler perceiver, not so much with the words, and I'm a talker. And we feel like together we open up a space for all of us to experience the Lord's presence that's already with us and already in us. Oh, yeah, Mike, did I turn it off?
I'm just going to
No,
move
I'm green.
this
Oh.
down a little bit so it can hear your
Breathe.
voice. Is that better?
I don't know. Is that better?
Chrissy, is that better?
Hello. Is that better? We good?
No.
It's the same. Is it?
Well, it's on. It's
is
like on
it-
full blast.
And it's pushed all the way up? Okay.
Oh, that's better.
That's better? I know. When I talk right down into my ear. That works? Okay. Well, I'll try to talk loud. So, I love that you don't try to make me you, and I don't try to make you me. I did try that for a while though, you know? The whole like, what happened to all the talking? And he's like, I used it all up before we got married. Go ahead. No, you were gonna say something, sorry. Yes, you were, you did, you had the mic out. I'm just waiting on you, babe.
You could be waiting.
Thank you so much for worship, Heather and Jocelyn. I don't know about any of you. Yeah.
Sorry I messed up the slides, but it's slightly better than last time. I landed it better than when Jared was singing.
Yeah.
That was a mess.
That was a mess. It was a mess. Thank goodness we're not trying to be professional, so
If we
thank
can walk
God
away
for that,
alive,
right?
it's a good landing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
So I don't know about many of you. Some of you may love worship and some of you may totally hate it. I won't ask for a show of hands, but I'll just put it this way. I used to hate it. And sometimes I still do, but I used to really hate it. I felt like I don't even know how to sing these songs and I feel completely disingenuous singing most of them. I'm not really sure. Okay, yes, that is a motorcycle helmet. See, husband, squirrel. I know, what kind of bike? I didn't find out. Do we know? Is it a Harley? Is there an age issue with Harleys? What kind of bike?
I had to take my hearing aids out.
Oh, okay.
Put my helmet on. I have to put them back in.
Oh, so I'm basically giving a message and you can't hear anything I'm saying? So, okay. So, let me just let you know, today's sermon's going to be about Chuck. He's a guy in our group. He's not here tonight. He can't hear what I'm saying. No, I'm just kidding. So, that's perfect. We're all good. That's so funny. Hey, if I had hearing aids, I might have taken them out during worship myself sometimes back in the day, just because I struggled with that whole thing. And so for those of you who go, you know what, that's my story too, can I just free you to have permission to just relax and not feel like you have to feel a certain thing. You don't have to experience a certain thing with God. We are in a space where everyone has permission to explore and experience God the way that is right for us. Thank goodness, right? And everybody's path is not supposed to lead to one path. He really is meant to meet us in every path. And so we're not trying to become the same thing. We are opening a space where everyone has permission to value their story, value their journey, and we get to value each other. How great is that? So good. Okay, so I had an assignment last week. Do you remember?
No.
Yes! Yes! Okay, can you tell us what the assignment was, or do you want me to describe it and you tell me how you did it?
The assignment was to, like, when someone was mad, tell them who they were.
Yes.
I think.
Genius. Okay, so when someone's not behaving in their true self, or someone's excessively angry, I gave the kids an assignment that they had permission to try with a friend or with a sibling or with a parent to remind them of who they really are instead. Yes. Okay, so Ava, did you do this? Did you try it out? No? Okay, that's okay. So try harder to behave badly this week, would you please? Right? Okay. So do more to give your kids opportunities. If you two would please kind of, like, I can't do this without you behaving badly. That is part of the deal. Anybody else give this a try this week? Yes. Okay. Go, Jocelyn.
It's funny because I told you earlier this week the day it happened or something like that. And you were like, don't forget it, write it down.
I did.
And I forgot the paper that I wrote it down on, but I remember it, which is great.
That's because people have these miraculous stories that they tell me all week. And then I say, does anybody have a miraculous story? Okay, yeah, right, it's you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean, but anyway, lots of people this happens to. And then they don't say in front of everyone like what their little, so I said, don't forget it. So here it is.
Yeah,
okay.
So some context, I teach kindergarten, first grade, and second grade music. So I was teaching my second graders on Monday, and I found myself getting frustrated at them for being them, like just doing
Them
second
things.
grade things, and so I asked myself, because the adult version was, when you're getting frustrated, ask the Lord who you are, and like, how does that change your reaction to things? So I was upset and a little on edge with my students. And I was like, God, who am I? Like, what do I do? Like, who is me in this moment?
Who is me? I like that.
Who is me?
Who is me right now?
Yeah.
Who is me? That's genius.
And
Anyway.
he reminded me that I'm the person that randomly tells people I love them. Like, I get super excited about just this like bubbling of love for other people, and I just tell them at random times. It's like in the middle of dinner, like you may be watching a television show, like whatever. I may be teaching. So I started doing that with my kids. In the middle of class, I would say, Abraham, I love you. I would say like to B as like the whole class, I love you so much. And it transformed the kids' faces. Like you can, like it was a visible change from, oh man, to like some of them were super touched and like smiling really bit, like, and some of them were like a little shy, and some of them just like came out and were really excited. But it didn't matter what their behavior was because of it. I just wanted to be me, and it changed my way of teaching.
That's so good.
That was really cool.
That's really so good, right? Us stepping into our true selves, that's like a bigger deal than you think, right? I mean, really. How many of us have behaved in ways, maybe even just this week, where we like, thank goodness there was not a video camera on that. And then, thank you, right? And then overcoming that and becoming magnificently amazing in the presence of a challenging situation, I don't think there's like a better, more powerful feeling ever, in my opinion. Okay, anyone else want to share who had this? Who jumped in and gave it a go? Okay, Abraham does. Do you want me to share? You asked me if I would. Okay, so I will just say that my kids were behaving in ways that made me feel frustrated and upset, and I totally lost it this week. Yeah, seriously lost it. And in the middle of losing it, Greg came home, and he was actually in a good mood.
Till I walked in the door.
Till he walked in the door. And we have a deal. We cannot have two abusive parents at the same time. But this deal was not honored in that moment. But in the middle of this, Abraham ran up to me, grabbed me, hugged me around the waist while I am yelling. So like that's a very bold, brave move. To step into the space where somebody is yelling is, you know, that's a big deal. Wraps his arm around me and says, "Mom, you're not behaving like your true self." And then just holds on for dear life, like, ah.
That's awesome.
Can you give me a high five? Yeah, he's so good. Right? And then we proceeded to abuse each other for a little while, but you know. We left the kids alone. So, you know, way to go, buddy. I remember, so this is, oh, fun. Those are super fun pages. I like those. Nice. Oh, wisdom. I caught the word wisdom. Nice. I remember one other time when Abraham jumped in and was magnificent. We were driving home from somewhere, and our car was a lot of tension and a lot of frustration, and there had been tension and frustration building up for days. Anybody have that happen in your relationship, right? Never, ever. And you don't, like, and I don't know about you, but we finally have come to realize when it's starting to happen, but for I don't know how many years of our marriage, we were clueless. We would live in tension and frustration for, I don't know, 10 days, not having any clue what it was about. Not knowing what it was that was.
Just better to blow up and get it over with, right?
Well, perhaps.
Is that your point? Is that really what you're trying to say?
That's not my point.
No.
That's not what I'm getting at. Because, yeah. So we would kind of remain clueless in these scenarios of why there was tension mounting and why it was difficult. And I remember thinking to myself, I have done everything I know to do to help bring down this frustration that Greg was feeling. And I think it actually ended up being about a work situation that I wasn't even aware of, if I'm remembering right, but I'm not entirely sure. And but this tension was building, and it was now days in that you're with somebody who's like, you can tell at the moment ready to blow, but they're trying to hold themselves back. How fun is that? Anyone with me? How fun is that? Okay, yeah, not very much fun at all. And on our ride home, I remember thinking, like, I don't think that we're gonna like how this ends. This is not gonna end well. And I remember praying, like, what are we gonna do about, what are we gonna do? And I felt like the Lord encouraged me that we should go home as a family and wash Greg's feet. And I was like, okay, that's awkward. But we have done it before as a family, so it's not a huge unknown thing. And so I said in the car, I think that we ought to go home and just wash each other's feet. We'll just wash, we won't just pick out one person, we're gonna wash each other's feet. Yes. You remember this?
Yeah.
Yay! Oh,
I
that's
remember why. I just was like, hey, let's wash Dad's feet.
Hey, let's wash Dad's feet. So we got home and we pulled out the buckets, and it was so fun. Abraham was so enthusiastic about it. He's like, because we have a little bucket that we use for it, and we have a special washcloths for this. And Greg was just in a bit of tension, and I was too not sure how this was going to turn out. But we sat down in the chair, we did this as a family, and I remember Abraham just washing Greg's feet. And I don't know about you, but have you had, anybody who's had their feet washed in here? It's awkward, right? Is it not super awkward? So, okay, it was awkward. I'm not gonna say it was this, magical moment. It was awkward. The only thing that made it super cool was that a kid was doing it, you know? And so that made it better. What, is it not awkward for you? Are you like the one individual where it's super not?
Pedicures.
Oh, pedicures? Right? Somehow it feels better when there is money changing hands. I kid you not, right? And a little bit of sugar scrub, that makes it better. But without like paying for the service, it's just awkward. And so we do this wash, and Abraham goes, I want to throw it into the sea. So that's what we do with the water.
Sugar scrub?
Oh, you have no idea.
Okay.
It is heaven on earth, babe. Okay, so
I'm not going to go anyway.
It's sugar suspended in oil. They put it on your legs and they scrub you all over.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah, it's not, and it's just, and it's so not, it's
okay.
fantastic.
Go on.
Okay, so Abraham washes his feet, and I watch. Now, we have tried to take down this anger and frustration and tension for 10 days, and it has not worked. Greg has tried because he doesn't want to be grouchy and frustrated. I have tried because I don't want him grouchy and frustrated, and we have tried as a family. So for 10 days, we have been all walking on eggshells, and Greg doesn't even really know what the issue is. So, right? Because that happens. Do we not have people in our lives who get grouchy, frustrated, agitated, and they don't even know why? I mean, please tell me you all have one of these people, because I do, right? Okay, thank you. And so the ability to resolve it is difficult, especially when the person doesn't know what it is that they're frustrated about. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. No. Okay. So anyway, Abraham washes his feet, and I watch this tension that we have been coming after to remove just fall off of Greg in a matter of like a couple of moments. And he just leans back and he lets his son wash his feet, and he goes and he dumps the water, and all of a sudden everything in our house is completely different. Have you had a moment like that where you didn't have to fight, you didn't have to vent, you didn't have to yell at each other, and the thing that was just causing the situation to feel impossible is just gone? And I remember looking at this going, what am I looking at? And I felt like the Lord said to me, I want you to know that that is a boy who is a king. That there are children who can rule and reign in goodness. And it doesn't require great capacity up here. It doesn't require knowing all of these things, and it doesn't require believing that even the simplest child can rule and reign in goodness. And that's, I felt like he said, where I want to take you, is to learn how to rule and reign with goodness. So on that note, kids, I want to encourage you, keep exploring this next week and learning how to rule and reign in goodness by calling out who people are. And we will release all littles and all kids under, what do we say, 10-ish? Yeah, 10 and under, yep, are released to go. Miss Jocelyn's, what doing today? She's a genius. So you may head out. Yay. No, you can stay, Aiden, if you want. Stay or go. Abraham's excited. Go be amazing. So, I love it. I love our little transition time. So, thoughts or comments on that? Yes. Hey, speaking of which, Tom, you're here. Hey, Greg. Is he had a little too, hang on, we want to bring the mic over just so that people who watch the recordings, which apparently there's like people who watch our recordings. That's so crazy amazing, thank you. But he's going to bring the mic over. Okay. Tom is in the house.
I was at a men's retreat last night, or a conference.
Really?
And yeah, it was pretty darn awesome. And one of the speakers was talking about washing feet, right?
Really?
He was talking about it. And he was saying that Jesus in the upper house was testing the disciples on servanthood. And at that particular time, this is when they're going to actually crucify Jesus, and so he's a wanted man. And so being up in the upper house, it was a secret thing. Mm-hmm. And they were saying that they have a slave that actually washes your feet. And he went into great detail talking about, they actually called them crap boys. Because back in that time, people were just, donkeys, camels, animals are just pooping on the floor. And so they call them crap boys. They were servants that literally sat at the door, and when you entered the house, you washed their feet because you didn't want to drag that into the person's house. And he was just saying that the disciples were so wrapped up into position that when they entered the guy's house, they realized there was no crap boy there. They looked around, and then they wanted the next best position next to Jesus. And so they all entered the house and didn't even wash their own feet. So can you imagine Jesus washing all the crap off of your feet?
Right.
I mean, you know, we make a big deal, right? You're like, it's better that my son's doing it or whatever. But can you imagine Jesus washing all the crap off of your feet? Yeah. I cried. There's a lot of guys, like big guys, you know, these biker type dudes sitting around me, and we're all crying. I mean, to realize how much of a servant that we need to be, and that's what he was just talking about. He goes, are you a servant? He goes, our lives should be such a place of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And so when you brought that up, that's just like emotionally, I was just like, wow, my got a little teary-eyed.
That is so cool.
You asked another question, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I just asked for a comment.
That's what I got from it, though.
That's so good.
It's just how amazing it is, how humbling it is to have to wash someone's feet. On a different note, I'm doing my art, right?
Mm-hmm. You flip it? We can see it?
It's not done.
Okay.
But I'm doing my art, and Jared, he goes, bro, I'm gonna do art with you, and I'm like, that's awesome, you know. So he starts drawing, and I was like kicked into the 12 disciples mode. You know, I'm like,
were you feeling a little art competition happening in your heart?
I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so now it kicks in, right? And so as I'm jealous of his work, and I'm like in competition, and I'm like in this competitive mode, and and then right away the Holy Spirit's like, you knucklehead. You're like the disciples, they're more worried about walking in and having their position than to be a servant. And one of the things that I feel like I've been in God's boot camp. And one of the things that I've learned about being in a boot camp is that they strip down who you used to be and they turn you into something different. And I feel like being in God's boot camp, he's been stripping down who I am, right? So I'm like, I want to crush you. That was the old Tom. I'm like, I want to crush you with my art, It's
an art throwdown happening.
In my house, this is like, hey, we're gonna do this, right? And that was my spirit. And God is like, the change person that I want to change you into is that you can say, bro, that is some amazing art. Yeah. You've got amazing talent. And he wants me to lift you up and put you above me. I think I'm a pretty good artist, but bro, that was amazing. And I just want to lift you up.
That's so good.
So,
thank you, Tom. Thanks. That's good sharing. So we're going to turn the other art so we can see.
Can I?
Is that all right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Do you want to share about what you drew? Okay.
Isn't it?
Go ahead.
First thing turn around. Whoa.
So good.
So I'm sitting there, drawing with crayons next to my other plus 40. How many people have been in a church where there's two 40-year-old guys drawing with crayons?
I know, right?
That was a really weird moment, but I do love my brother
It's so
Tom.
creepy and so weird and so us and so awesome. Can I just say? Okay.
So I'm sitting there, and Tom and I, we're in a men's group and full of the Holy Spirit, and we love each other a lot. And I was just thinking about, a God who rescues me. I was thinking of a God who rescues. And at first I was going to draw this angel kind of holding up a woman, and then I was like, no, it's going to be a man. And then he gave me this verse, he would call upon me, and I will answer him in trouble. I will rescue him, from Psalms. And then I added every day, because he's like that. We have a God that does rescue us every day. And it's funny, sometimes he comes in the form of an angel, sometimes he comes in the form, for guys, comes in the form of another man. And it's funny, Tom, stand up, show your shirt. I didn't even notice this till he's got an angel on his shirt.
Look at that.
So that's just cool.
That's way cool. Oh my gosh. Well, what you guys both don't know is that tonight's message is on being powerful and being rescued. So that's cool. I love when God does that. So good. So in the time that we have, I'm just going to take a moment and pray. Lord, this is just such a cool place where we can learn how to see ourselves the way you see us. And we can learn to see each other the way you see us, or see others. And everyone who's here is here because we're willing to do something a little different, a little outside the box maybe of what we've grown up with. So, Lord, would you just blow up our boxes a little bit today? Would you just blow up a few of the things we thought we knew and show us something new and rich and beautiful and astonishing? Amen. Thank you. Woohoo, she says. There is this strange thing that happens with God, and I think that you all are familiar with it, and it is that He is one kind of person, and He says, I am this, and then He turns and says something that seems completely contradictory, and says, and I am also this, right? And you can, even in Scripture, find yourself landing in one of the I ams, and you discount everything else that seems to contradict it, because you're so in the one I am that you can't see that He is this multifaceted, sometimes dichotomous being, just like we are too. And so I have discovered that if I have embraced one part of who God is, I can sometimes not always realize the other side of who He wants to be. And so I want to talk about for just a few minutes the really cool God who wants to be our rescuer and savior and who wants to introduce us to our powerful selves. Because I grew up knowing about God being a rescuer and a savior, but I thought that meant that I must be weak. I thought that that meant that it was because I was always broken and a failure. And I was raised in that perspective. And it is a dichotomy when Jesus says, I have been given all authority. All authority that is in heaven and earth and under the earth has been given to me, and I give that authority to who? Us. To all of humanity. He gives all authority, and I believe that authority was the ability to overcome evil with good. To just overcome the darkness that is in our lives with goodness. And so there is this God who says, I want to rescue you in difficult circumstances and love on you in places where you don't know how to be loved. And then I also want to introduce you to your powerful self. I want to introduce you because I feel like the Lord said, I can't have you stay a victim. I need you at some point to rise up and no longer be a victim. In fact, I was in a conversation this week, I hope this is okay, with somebody, and we were talking about their identity as a defender of the weak. So, yeah, CJ, she's so awesome.
No idea what you're going to say.
Right, just say it. And it's a part of her identity. It's a part of who God showed me that she is. And so we were having a conversation about what do you do in certain circumstances when you are up against someone who's weak and you are a defender of the weak. And I remember saying, well, the cool thing is that God, when He looks at people, no longer sees them as weak. He sees them as whole. He sees them as strong and powerful because of the work of Christ introducing us to our true selves. And so the defender of the weak is the person who no longer sees them as weak. Because if we continue to see people as weak and broken, what do they remain? Weak and broken. And isn't that kind of what's happened in the church? The church has become a bunch of, people who celebrate their weak and brokenness. And they spend more time talking about what's broken and no longer working, instead of asking the Lord, how do you see this instead? How do you see me? How do you see this person? What is the reality that is greater than the circumstances I'm living in? Because there is this huge difference, and I'm going to have you write this on the board. There is a huge difference between failure and failing. Right? Isn't that funny? Have any of you even thought about that? That was like an epiphany to me this week. There is a huge difference between failure and failing. Failure is an end statement. It's the explanation point. It's the description that ends the conversation. But failing is the process of learning. Right? So we can be, many of us, failing in something, but we are by no means ever meant to embrace that we are a failure.
Amen.
Right? And so there are these opportunities where God is wanting to give us the opportunity to learn how to, and I love this phrase, rule and reign. Because there were some times in my life where I kept asking the Lord, like, deliver me of this frustrating thing, take me out of this difficulty. Please just magically touch me and make me no longer addicted to sugar and food. Anyone with me? Come on, please, somebody be with me.
Addicted to food?
Sugar and food, yes. I know, that isn't even a real thing. Please, it's not even a real thing. So, I didn't even want you to know that. La, la, la. So, well, it's just like when you want to eat stuff, that you like at, 9 o'clock at night when you shouldn't be eating, but you just find yourself overwhelmed, that.
Maybe it's just your stomach saying, I'm lonely.
Right? Oh my gosh, you're a genius. She goes, maybe it's your stomach saying I'm lonely. Okay, are we done yet? Because that was really good. So, she's so good. You're a genius. Oh my gosh. Okay, and thus starts the therapy session that we will continue at my house later tonight, you and me, girlfriend. So, I wanted you to put rule and reign. Because there are these times where I've been asking the Lord, just remove these difficult circumstances. And the Lord is saying, I want to do something different than just remove the difficulty. I want to teach you how to rule and reign. And you have been living a lot of your Christian life owning a disempowered victim mindset. Right? So I've been learning for the last few years how to take back my powerful stance in the goodness of God and love. For example, guess who used to get ticked off when somebody would cut them off on the road? You. Right? Yes. Right. I no longer get all frustrated, right? Didn't that just happen? We've just got flipped off by a grandma this week. We did. We didn't even do anything wrong, but she thought we did, and she was like all up in her windshield with double flips happening. I'm like, do you know there's a third time? He's like, she's double flipping us off. And the driver was one-handedly. I was like, we didn't even cause you to slow down. I don't even know what the problem is. I mean, clearly I didn't know what the problem was because I wouldn't have done it if I did. So, there's also that. But don't be looking like you knew that it was my fault. Don't even. We were even in their way. I know we weren't in the. I don't even know what it was all about. But anyway, so. But these are.
She's not as innocent as she pretends to be with this.
It's true. It's true. I am saying I sometimes am not aware entirely of everything happening around me. But this one I was truly unaware of what was happening around me.
Maybe it was you. Maybe I just need to back you up because
yes.
I get honked at and people are always mad at me. I have no idea.
Right. That's how bad we are. That's how bad. That's proof that we're so bad that we don't even know what we did. We don't even know how we cut them off. I know. It's super bad. So what is my point? My point is, am I really going to give away my power to a stranger on the road and get upset? Am I going to be that person who gives away the power of goodness and calm and peace to someone I have never met? Am I going to do that? Am I just going to give away my identity to someone else? Or I am going to go, no, this is who I am regardless of the circumstances. There isn't anything that can push on and cause me to become a person that is less than who God made me to be. So, right, this is a little quiet right now, right? Because we went to a restaurant. How many times have we gone to a restaurant since we got married? We've been married 15 years. Yes. And I don't know, we've gone out to eat. I mean, the fact that we could probably count this in 15 years, that tells you how often we do not go out. We don't hardly ever go out to eat.
When we first got married, we went out all the time.
That was back when you were a talker.
It was also back when we didn't have children.
This is true too.
Offspring.
This is true. And so we went out to eat this week, and the service was super bad. And, you know, there's a temptation there to get frustrated because, you know, we go out very little, you know, few times, and you kind of want to have a pleasant experience and not feel like, you know, you were forgotten 8 times. But then there is this opportunity to decide that you are not a victim of somebody else's actions. Right? That's really what that's about. I'm not a victim of somebody else's actions. I get to choose who I am here. It's so good. And these are the places where God is wanting to prove to us who we really are. He's not trying to give us peace. He's trying to prove to us we already are peace. That's a huge flip too, because we're not begging for God to give us something that we don't have. We are awakening to the fact that we are already complete inside, and He wants to prove that to us. In fact, for some of you who have gone to read James, right at the very beginning of James, and I had it on my phone and then I turned it off, and so I won't take the time to pull it up. But at the very beginning of James, he says, "Count it all joy when you suffer and endure trials and tribulation and difficulties," right? Are we all familiar with this? Because when you do endure, you will be shown to have character and peace and goodness, right? This will happen, and it will be proven to you